Okay, we're going to retire this bathroom here. It served its purpose, and now they want to use it for another function or use the space for something else. So the first thing we want to do is prepare to take these old pedestal sinks out without having a big mess or having a disaster. So first thing you want to do is always check your water, make sure your water is off. The source is coming from somewhere in the building, so you make sure that that's secure. We did that already and found out, check up here, make sure that the water is off at the time. Once you shut those valves off, there's no water, so we know we're good. So at that point you can say, okay, I can take the supply tubes off because you know that your water is safe, right? There's no water coming out. But before we even do that, we can do it in reverse. We can do that first, or we can say, okay, let's start disconnecting the pedestal from the wall. Find out what kind of attachment we have, what kind of brackets we have attaching this to the wall. So as you can see, it has a bracket here. We took that one screw out. Most of the time what I like to do is take a little WD-40, spray it, give it about a minute. So this way it loosens up that bolt. It's, basically like your silent helper, right? So we spray it a little bit with the WD. We take the bolt out because that is what's holding this to the wall. Then we took our supplies off. That was our main source of water. But what we want to do is now we have water that's still in the trap that sits in there because that's your trap for your sink. So that water never moves if nobody's using the water, but there's always water in your trap. So you don't want to just disconnect it and then have stale water that most of the time really has a foul odor. So you want to get that water out of there. There's usually a plug underneath, but I say it's much easier just to cut it, make a little scar in it, like you was going to do a little surgery. Now you can do that with two tools. You can take a sawzall like this. I like to use Milwaukee because it's pretty sturdy. It's good for construction. You can use any sawzall, it will do the job. Or you can use a grinder like this. So in this case, you can use a grinder, but when you use a grinder, it's a little bit more abrasive because stuff usually likes to fly. So you want to make sure that you protect yourself. Always protection first. Right? When you do anything in construction or even in plumbing, you want to have safety first. So these happen to be cordless units, so that makes it easy because we don't have to worry about moving cords around and the safety of having a cord get wrapped around something. So as you can see, we removed the supply tube already. I already took the bolt out of the wall, so it's starting to have a little give here. The only thing is really holding this sink still to the wall is the trap and your drain assembly. So you could remove the nut, the slip nut, after we let the water out of the trap, get that foul water out of there. You see we have a bucket here. Now safety first again. First thing is I'm on my knees. You can see that I'm down low, so knee pads is always, when you're young, you can say knee pads, you don't need them, but you do need them because after 5 years, 10 years, it's going to show. So always knee pads, and then safety goggles, because when you're cutting anything, something could fly off. You want to protect your eyes at all costs. Your eyes are your most precious thing that you have when it comes to doing this kind of work. So you don't want to lose your eyesight. So goggles, knee pads, some sort of protection for your hands. If you don't have a heavy duty glove, I like something where I can just protect them lightly because I want to be able to feel things. So it's hard to feel things if you have a heavy, thick glove one. But a lot of people, they have so many products out now, you have, a little bit heavier gloves that will protect. Okay, so what I want to do is disconnect that trap. So there's a couple ways we can cut it as far as, because we already let the water out, and we can make a scar cut here and just cut it, get that trap off of there. see, as soon as I cut it, you see the seat had a little bit more movement. It's still being held up by the wall, so I wasn't worried about it falling off. Now, everything is disconnected. The supply tubes are disconnected on both sides. So now we can just safely lift that shit off the wall. Now we did have the pedestal connected to it, or some kind of source, that little stand, that little